Marcus was pounding on the apartment door at 2 in the morning. Not knocking. Pounding. The kind of sound that makes your neighbors turn on their lights and grab their phones to call the cops. I was inside, with his ex-wife. In my bed. She was asleep, one arm draped across my chest, her breath warm against my collarbone. I'd been lying there for an hour, wide awake, listening to the distant hum of traffic on the boulevard and wondering how long we could keep this up before everything fell apart. Turns out, not long, because Marcus was pounding on the door, and Vanessa was stirring, her eyes opening slowly, confused at first, then afraid. "Is that?" she whispered. I nodded. She sat up, pulling the sheet around herself, her hands shaking. I got out of bed, pulled on my jeans, and walked to the door. Through the peephole, I could see him. Charcoal wool suit. The kind that never wrinkled no matter how hard you slammed doors or threw punches. The kind that cost more than 3 months of my rent. His jaw was clenched, his fist raised again. I opened the door before he could hit it a 4th time. "Marcus," I said, keeping my voice calm. "What are you doing here?" He didn't answer right away. Just stared at me. Then, past me. At Vanessa, standing in the hallway, wrapped in my bedsheet, her hair messed up, her face pale. "So it's true," he said quietly. Then louder. "It's true. You're sleeping with the guy who sells comic books. He owns a bookstore," Vanessa said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Show up at the apartment I'm paying for?" I blinked. "What?" Marcus smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "You didn't tell him? This building. I own it. I own this whole block. Your lease? It's up in 2 months. And unless you stop screwing my wife, ex-wife," Vanessa interrupted, "I'm not renewing it. You'll be out on the street, along with your little comic book collection." My stomach dropped. The bookstore was 3 blocks away. I'd chosen this apartment specifically because I could walk to work, because rent was cheap enough that I could almost afford it. Almost. "You can't do that," I said. "Actually, I can. It's my property, and I have a very good lawyer." He looked at Vanessa. "Which you know, because you were married to me for 15 years. Vanessa stepped forward. "Marcus, stop. This is insane." "Insane? You want to talk about insane?" "You're 43 years old, Vanessa. He's what, 30? 31, I said. 31. A child. What do you think this is? You think he loves you?" "I do," I said. Marcus laughed. "Of course you do. She's rich. She's got connections. She's got a house in the hills. What do you have? A studio apartment and a failing bookstore? It's not failing. It's barely breaking even. I looked at your financials. I froze. How I own the building your store is in too," he said casually. "You're 2 months behind on rent. I could evict you tomorrow." Vanessa's face went white. "Marcus, you can't. I can do whatever I want. Because unlike him, I actually have power. I have money. I have influence. And if you don't end this pathetic little affair, I'm going to use all 3 to make sure he loses everything." Then he turned and walked away. Just like that. Down the hall, into the elevator, gone. Vanessa and I stood there in the doorway, neither of us speaking. The silence was suffocating. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't know he owned the building." "I believe you. I didn't know he'd do this." I nodded. I didn't say anything. Because what was there to say? That I was terrified? That I couldn't afford to lose the apartment and the bookstore at the same time? That maybe Marcus was right? And I was just a phase? A rebellion? A way for her to feel young again before she came to her senses and went back to her real life? She touched my arm. "James, talk to me." I looked at her, at the gray streaks in her dark hair, at the lines around her eyes that deepened when she smiled, at the way she was looking at me, like I was something precious, something worth keeping. 3 months earlier, June, the bookstore smelled like yellowed paperbacks left in someone's attic for 30 years dry, dusty, with a faint undertone of vanilla from the clearance candles I'd stacked near the register. The coffee machine in the corner wheezed and sputtered, spitting out bitter espresso that coated your tongue like burnt rubber. It was a Tuesday afternoon, slow enough that I was reorganizing the poetry section for the 3rd time that week, when the door chimed. I looked up, and there she was, tall, elegant. Older than me by at least a decade, maybe more. wearing a cream-colored blouse and dark jeans that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. Her hair was pulled back in a loose bun, a few strands framing her face. She walked straight to the fiction section, her fingers trailing along the spines of the books, and I went back to alphabetizing Neruda. "Excuse me," she said, after a few minutes. Her voice was soft, a little hesitant. "Do you have anything by Anne Carson?" I turned. Yeah. Poetry's over here." I led her to the shelf, pulled out Autobiography of Red, handed it to her. Our fingers brushed. Just for a second, but I felt it. A spark. Something. She looked at the book, then at me. "Have you read it?" "Twice," I said. "It's devastating." She smiled. A real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "Good. I like devastating." She bought the book, and a collection of Mary Oliver, and a used copy of The Goldfinch she said she'd been meaning to read. When I rang her up, I noticed she wasn't wearing a wedding ring. I didn't say anything, but I noticed. "Thank you," she said, taking the bag. "I'm Vanessa. By the way, James. Nice to meet you, James." Then she left, and I stood there behind the register, watching her walk down the street, and thought, I will never see her again. I saw her again 2 days later, same time, same hesitant walk to the fiction section. This time she bought a biography of Frida Kahlo and asked if I had any recommendations for books that make you feel less alone. I gave her Depth of Speculation by Jenny Offill. She read the first page right there in the store. Standing by the window, the afternoon light catching the gray in her hair. When she looked up, her eyes were wet. "This is perfect," she said. "Thank you. Any time." She hesitated. "Then, do you work here every day?" "Pretty much. I own the place." Her eyebrows lifted. "You own it?" "Well, I'm still paying off the loan, but yeah, technically mine." "That's impressive," I shrugged. "It's a lot of debt and not a lot of profit. But I love it." She smiled again. That same smile. I can tell. This time, when she left, I found myself hoping she'd come back. She came back the next week. And the week after that. Always alone. Always quiet. Always buying books she said made her feel something. By the fourth visit, we were talking more than browsing. She told me she'd recently gotten divorced. That she'd spent 15 years married to a man who thought reading novels was a waste of time. That she was trying to figure out who she was now that she wasn't somebody's wife. I told her about the bookstore, about how I'd worked 3 jobs to save up the down payment, about how my parents thought I was insane for not going to law school, about how sometimes I woke up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, convinced I'd made a horrible mistake. "You didn't," she said softly. "Make a mistake? I mean, this place. It feels like you. Like it was always supposed to exist. No one had ever said anything like that to me before." "Thank you," I said. And then, before I could stop myself, "Do you want to get coffee sometime? I mean, real coffee. Not the burnt sludge from my machine." She looked at me for a long moment, long enough that I started to panic, started to backpedal, started to say, "Never mind. Forget it." When she said, "I'd like that." We met at a cafe 2 blocks from the bookstore. It was one of those trendy places with exposed brick and baristas who took their latte art very seriously. Vanessa ordered an oat milk cappuccino. I got black coffee because it was $2 cheaper. We sat by the window. She told me about her kids, David, 14, who was angry all the time and refused to talk to her. Maya, 11, who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. She told me about the divorce, how Marcus had left her for his paralegal, how she'd spent a year in therapy trying to understand what she'd done wrong before realizing she hadn't done anything wrong at all. "I just disappeared," she said, stirring her coffee. "I don't know when it happened, but one day I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself. I was just Marcus's wife, the kid's mom. Nobody asked what I wanted. Nobody cared." "What do you want?" I asked. She looked at me, really looked at me. "I want to feel like I exist again." I reached across the table and took her hand. Her skin was soft, warm, her pulse fast under my fingertips. "You exist," I said. "I see you." Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't pull her hand away. 2 weeks later, We went to dinner. A real dinner. Not coffee, not the bookstore. A date. I'd suggested a pizza place near campus somewhere cheap, somewhere I could actually afford. But Vanessa said she wanted to take me somewhere nice. My treat, she said when I protested. Please, let me do this. So, we went to an Italian place in Los Feliz, the kind with white tablecloths and candles and wine bottles and a wine list I couldn't pronounce. The hostess, a woman in her 20s with a tight ponytail and sharper eyes, looked at us when we walked in. Her gaze flicked from Vanessa to me, then back to Vanessa. Two? She asked, her tone carefully neutral. Yes, Vanessa said. We followed her to a table by the window. I pulled out Vanessa's chair. The hostess watched, her expression unreadable. When she left, Vanessa leaned across the table. She thinks I'm your mother, she whispered. I felt my face go hot. No, she doesn't. James. I saw the way she looked at us. She was just, it's fine, Vanessa said, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I'm used to it. The waiter arrived. Young guy, probably a college student, with the kind of effortless confidence I'd never had. He handed us menus, rattled off the specials in Italian, then asked if we wanted to start with wine. We have an excellent Barolo, he suggested, looking at Vanessa. It's from Piedmont. Vanessa's jaw tightened. We'll take a bottle of the Chianti, I said quickly. The house one. The waiter's smile faltered. The house Chianti? Yeah, that one. Of course. He left. Vanessa looked at me. You didn't have to do that. Do what? Order the cheap wine. I like cheap wine. James, Vanessa, I asked you out. I'm paying. You don't have to. I want to. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. Okay. The restaurant was warm. Too warm. I could feel sweat starting to bead on the back of my neck. The menu was in Italian. I didn't recognize half the dishes. I ordered the first thing that looked familiar, carbonara. Vanessa ordered something with shellfish. When the waiter left, the silence stretched between us. I could hear everything. The clink of silverware on plates from other tables. The murmur of conversations. The hiss of something frying in the kitchen. A couple at the table next to us, both in their 40s, wedding rings glinting in the candlelight, kept glancing over, whispering. I tried to ignore them. Tried to focus on Vanessa. On the way, the candlelight made her eyes look softer, warmer, but I couldn't stop thinking about the hostess, about the waiter, about the way everyone was looking at us, like we didn't belong together. The wine arrived. The waiter poured 2 glasses, set the bottle down, left. I took a sip. It was dry. Too dry. It coated my tongue like dust. Vanessa noticed. You don't like it? It's fine. James, really? It's good. She smiled. That small, sad smile that made my chest ache. You're a terrible liar. The food came. My carbonara was fine. Not great, but fine. Vanessa's shellfish smelled like the ocean, briny, sharp, faintly metallic. She offered me a bite. I tried it. It tasted like salt and butter and something vaguely fishy. Good? She asked. Amazing? I lied. She laughed. A real laugh this time. The kind that lit up her whole face. And for a second, I forgot about the stares. Forgot about the whispers. Forgot about everything except her. Then the bill came. I reached for my wallet. Pulled out my credit card. The one I'd been carefully managing, trying to keep under the limit. Handed it to the waiter. He took it. Walked away. Vanessa was watching me. James, if you can't afford this, I can, I said. Are you sure? Because I meant it when I said I'd pay. I'm sure. The waiter came back. Sir, I'm sorry, but your card was declined. My stomach dropped. Every eye in the restaurant turned toward us. I could feel them. The stares. The judgment. Vanessa reached into her purse. Here, take mine. Vanessa James. It's fine. It's not fine. Please, just let me. I wanted to argue. Wanted to insist. Wanted to be the guy who could take her to a nice dinner without humiliating himself. But I couldn't. So I nodded. Let her pay. Let her save me. The waiter took her card, swiped it, brought it back with a smile that was all pity. "Thank you for dining with us," he said, looking at Vanessa. Not at me. We left. Walked to my car in silence. The air outside was cool, a relief after the stifling heat of the restaurant. I unlocked the passenger door for her. She got in. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. "James," she said softly. I couldn't look at her. "I'm sorry," I said. "For what? For that? For God? I can't even take you to dinner without my card getting declined." "Marcus is right. I'm stop," she said. She reached over, put her hand on my cheek, turned my face toward her. "Listen to me. I don't care about the card. I don't care about the wine. I don't care that the hostess thought I was your mother or that the waiter was condescending. Vanessa, what I care about," she said, her voice fierce, "is that you tried. You wanted to take me somewhere nice. You wanted to make me feel special. And you did. Because you're here. Because you see me." Her eyes were wet. "Do you understand? Marcus took me to expensive restaurants all the time. Michelin star places. Places with prix-fixe menus and sommeliers. And I felt invisible. Every single time." She squeezed my hand. "Tonight? With you? In that overpriced tourist trap?" I felt seen. I kissed her. Right there in the car, in the parking lot, under the streetlights. She kissed me back. Desperate. Hungry. Like she was trying to prove something. When we finally pulled apart, she whispered, "Take me home. Your place or mine?" "Yours." I drove. Fast. My hands shaking on the wheel. When we got to my apartment, we didn't make it to the bedroom. We barely made it through the door. We started meeting for coffee every week, then twice a week, then almost every day. She'd come to the bookstore after dropping the kids at school, and we'd sit in the back room, surrounded by boxes of unsold inventory, drinking bad coffee and talking about everything. Books, movies, the places we wanted to travel, the lives we thought we'd have versus the lives we actually got. I told her I'd always imagined I'd be married by now, that I'd have a real career, not a struggling bookstore, that sometimes I felt like I was failing at being an adult. She told me she'd spent her whole marriage feeling invisible, that Marcus had stopped touching her years ago, that she couldn't remember the last time someone had looked at her the way I did. "What way?" I asked. "Like I matter," she said. Her hands in my hair, her breath quick and warm, her whole body trembling. When we finally pulled apart, she whispered, "This is a terrible idea." "Probably," I agreed. "I'm 12 years older than you." "I know. I have 2 kids." "I know. My ex-husband is a very powerful lawyer." "I know." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "And you still want this?" I nodded. "I still want this." She kissed me again. Harder this time. Like she was trying to prove something. To me, to herself, to the universe. And I thought, I am so screwed. We kept it secret. Obviously. She didn't want her kids to know. Didn't want Marcus to find out. Didn't want her friends, the ones who'd stuck by her through the divorce, to think she was having some kind of midlife crisis. So, we were careful. She'd park 2 blocks away when she visited the bookstore. We'd meet at hotels in other neighborhoods. We never posted anything online. Never held hands in public. Never did anything that could be traced back to us. It was exhausting and exhilarating and terrifying. Because every time I was with her, I felt more alive than I'd felt in years. But every time we said goodbye, I felt the weight of everything we were risking. One night, after we'd spent hours in a hotel room in Silver Lake, lying tangled in sheets that smelled like industrial detergent, she turned to me and said, "Do you ever feel like you're disappearing?" "What do you mean?" "Like, you're going through the motions. You wake up, you go to work, you pay your bills, you smile when you're supposed to smile. But inside, you're just empty." I thought about it. About the mornings I opened the bookstore and felt nothing. About the nights I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was all there was. "Yeah," I said. "I feel like that a lot." She rested her head on my chest. "You make me feel real again," she whispered. "Like I'm not just a ghost in my own life." I kissed the top of her head. "You're not a ghost." "Promise?" "Promise." The first real crisis came 2 months in. We were at my apartment. It was late, past midnight, and Vanessa had told Marcus she was staying at her sister's place. We were watching some documentary about climate change, not really paying attention, when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You don't know me, but I know you. I know what you're doing with Vanessa Chen, and if you don't end it, I'm going to tell her kids, and her ex-husband. And everyone else? My blood went cold. Vanessa saw my face. What's wrong? I showed her the text. She went pale. Oh my God. Do you know who this is? She shook her head. It could be anyone. One of Marcus's friends. One of mine. Someone from the bookstore. What do we do? She stared at the phone. Then at me. Maybe we should stop. Just for a while. Until things calm down. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. You want to end this? I don't want to, she said quickly. But James, if my kids find out like this, if Marcus finds out, he'll use it against me. He'll say, I'm an unfit mother. He'll try to take custody. He can't do that. He can try. And he has the money to make my life hell. I set the phone down, looked at her, at the fear in her eyes, at the way she was twisting her hands in her lap, like she was trying to hold herself together. Okay, I said. Okay, we'll be more careful. James, no. I'm not giving you up. Not because some asshole sent a text. Not because Marcus might throw a tantrum. Not because the world thinks we don't make sense. I took her face in my hands. I love you, Vanessa. I don't care that you're older. I don't care that you have kids. I don't care that you have an ex-husband who probably wants to kill me. I love you. And I'm not walking away. She started crying. Not quiet tears. Full, body-shaking sobs. I held her, and she whispered, I love you too. We never found out who sent the text. Maybe it was a bluff. Maybe it was someone testing us. Either way, we didn't stop. We just got better at hiding. But hiding takes a toll. There were nights I'd lie awake, Vanessa asleep beside me, and think, what if Marcus is right? What if I'm not enough for her? I didn't have money, didn't have status, didn't have anything to offer except a failing bookstore and a studio apartment with a leaky faucet I kept meaning to fix. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I got out of bed, careful not to wake her, and sat on the floor by the window, staring out at the street below. The streetlights cast long shadows. A car alarm beeped somewhere in the distance. I thought about my life, about the choices I'd made, about the ways I'd convinced myself I was doing fine when really, I was just surviving. And I thought, she deserves better. She deserves someone who can give her the life she had before. Someone who doesn't have to check his bank account before buying groceries. Someone who isn't scared all the time. James? Vanessa was awake, sitting up in bed, the sheet wrapped around her. What are you doing? Thinking. She got out of bed, came over, sat beside me on the floor. About what? I hesitated. Then, do you ever regret this? Us? She frowned. Why would I regret this? Because I'm not. I mean, look at me. I'm 31. I live in a studio apartment. I drive a car that's held together with duct tape. You could have anyone. Someone successful. Someone who doesn't have to Google how to fix a garbage disposal. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she took my hand. James, do you know what Marcus got me for our 15th anniversary? What? A vacuum cleaner. I blinked. What? A vacuum cleaner. A Dyson. Very expensive. He said it was practical. That I'd appreciate it more than jewelry. She looked at me. You know what you got me last week? I did know. I'd given her a first edition of the bell jar I'd found at an estate sale. It had cost me $200 I didn't have. A book? I said. A book? She repeated. Because you listen to me. Because you remember the things I say. Because you see me, James. Not as a wife. Not as a mom. But as me. She squeezed my hand. That's worth more than all the money in the world. Week 8. A Sunday morning. We decided to risk it go to the grocery store together, like a normal couple. We drove to a Whole Foods 20 miles away. Somewhere neither of us knew anyone. It felt absurd. And thrilling, like we were teenagers sneaking around. We held hands in the produce section. She laughed when I insisted on buying the expensive olive oil because we deserved it. We stood in the checkout line, her head on my shoulder, and for 5 minutes, we were just two people in love. Then I heard a voice behind us. Vanessa? We both froze. I turned. A woman in yoga pants and a fleece jacket. Mid-40s, blonde, carrying a basket full of organic kale. Oh my God, it is you, the woman said, smiling. I thought that was you. How are you? Vanessa's face went pale. Hi, Barbara. I'm good. Barbara's eyes flicked to me, then back to Vanessa. Who's your friend? This is James, Vanessa said quickly. He's a friend from book club. Book club? Barbara's smile didn't reach her eyes. I didn't know you joined a book club. It's new. Well, isn't that nice? Barbara's gaze lingered on our intertwined hands. It was good to see you, Vanessa. We should catch up soon. Then she was gone. Vanessa let go of my hand. She's going to tell Marcus, she said quietly. You don't know that. I do. Barbara and Marcus play tennis every week. She's going to tell him. I wanted to say something reassuring, something hopeful, but I couldn't. Because I knew she was right. Marcus called Vanessa 2 days later. I wasn't there, but she told me about it that night, sitting on my couch. Her hands shaking. He knows, she said. How much? Everything. Barbara told him she saw us. Together. He called me. Said he wants to talk. What did you tell him? I told him the truth. I stared at her. You what? I told him we're together. That I love you. That I'm not going to apologize for being happy. My heart was pounding. Vanessa. He said he's going to make your life hell, James. He said he owns your building. Your bookstore's building. He said he's going to evict you unless I end this. I felt sick. And what did you say? She looked at me. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. I said no. Vanessa, I said no. Because I'm done letting him control my life. I'm done being afraid. She took my hands. James, I know this is scary. I know you could lose everything. And if you want to walk away, I understand. But I'm not going back to being invisible. I'm choosing me. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing me. I pulled her into my arms, held her as tight as I could. I'm not going anywhere, I whispered. We'll figure this out. Promise? Promise. Marcus showed up at my apartment that night at 2 a.m., pounding on the door. After he left, Vanessa and I sat on the couch, neither of us speaking. The weight of what he'd said hung in the air like smoke. Finally, I broke the silence. What are we going to do? She looked at me. I don't know. He's serious. He's going to evict me. I'll lose the bookstore. The apartment. Everything. I'll help you. I have money. I don't want your money. James, I don't want to be the guy who needs you to save him. I don't want Marcus to be right about me. He's not right about you. Isn't he? I'm broke. I'm behind on rent. I'm barely keeping the store afloat. What do I have to offer you? She grabbed my face, forced me to look at her. You. You have you. And that's enough. That's more than enough. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. But the fear was louder. The fear that I was ruining her life, that her kids would hate her because of me, that Marcus would take everything from her and it would be my fault. Maybe we should take a break, I said quietly. Just until… No. Vanessa, no. I'm not doing that. I'm not letting him win. But James, listen to me. I spent 15 years in a marriage where I didn't exist, where I was just a decoration, a +1 at dinner parties, someone to smile and nod and never, ever have an opinion that mattered. And then I met you, and for the first time in my life, I felt seen. I felt wanted. I felt like I mattered. Her voice broke. I'm not giving that up. I don't care what it costs. Now, present day, 2 years in, we're sitting on the porch of the little house Vanessa bought after selling the mansion Marcus had insisted they needed. It's smaller, quieter. The kind of place where you can hear the cicadas at night. Bowie, the dog she adopted last year, is asleep at our feet. The gray in her hair catches the fading sunlight. The lines around her eyes deepen when she smiles. She looks up, catches me staring. What? Nothing, I say. You're staring. I know. She smiles, reaches over, takes my hand. Do you ever regret it? She asks. Regret what? This. Us. Everything we gave up. I think about it. About the bookstore that's still barely breaking even. About the friends who stopped calling. About Marcus, who still texts Vanessa sometimes, just to remind her he's there. About the whispers when we go out. The looks. The judgment. And then I think about the way she laughs when I read her terrible poetry. The way she holds my hand when we walk down the street. The way she looks at me. Like I'm not a failure. Like I'm enough. No, I say. Not even a little. She squeezes my hand. We sit there as the sun sets. As the fireflies come out. As the world keeps turning. Two people who aren't supposed to make sense. Who break all the rules. Who chose each other anyway. Hey, James, Vanessa says softly. I look at her. Yeah? My ex never made me feel like this. I smile. Pull her close. Your ex was a complete fool.